It's the Daily Dog.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Doug. Thanks for being with me today. I have a great episode for you today, my friends. I am going back into the Daily Doug vault to access a reaction to Shadow of the Hierophant by Steve Hackett that I recorded as part of my fan favorites series on my Patreon. I filmed this in early December of 2022, right before I was going to have the opportunity to see Steve perform live in concert, and it was a glorious concert, and I absolutely loved this live version of Shadow of the Hierophant. I hope you enjoy. So we move on, friends, to the ninth song, and another big one. This one's been on the list for a while, and I get to see Steve Hackett in concert next week with Megan, and I'm very much looking forward to that one. Shadow of the Hierophant is the song that we are looking at right now, and this one comes to us from Chris Ramsbottom. Thank you, Chris. And Chris says that this is from Steve's first album called Voyage of the Acolyte. It is a concept album based on the tarot cards. The Hierophant is the card usually associated with religion and rules, and is shown in some decks as the Pope. This is what Chris is saying to us. And they say, some say that when the shadow of the Hierophant passes over you, you will die. Anyway, the video was from the first Hackett gig I went to, and I was blown away by this, especially blown away by Nick Beggs hammering 7 bells out of the bass pedals. All right. Before we get started on this, I found some fascinating information about it. This is from The Voyage of the Acolyte, his first solo album released in 1975. It was recorded in the summer of 1975, just a few weeks after Genesis had finished touring in support of The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. And the song is one that Steve had written with Mike Rutherford a few years earlier. It was a potential song for Foxtrot, but it wasn't included on that recording. And so a couple years later, we get Steve playing on a track and Mike Rutherford playing on a track and Phil Collins playing on a track, and it's almost like a lost Genesis song, right? So Steve was interested in these tarot cards, and all the songs I think on the album get their name and personality from these assorted cards, including this one. And the high priest or Hierophant bears, like Chris said, resemblance to the Pope, with a figure in a red robe and a gold crown, although I don't think it's referring to the actual Roman pontiff, but rather maybe a generic person of spiritual and cultural authority. I don't know, maybe they just didn't want to piss off the Catholics or the Pope himself. So he was writing pictorially in this, and that's a fascinating thing. It's almost like pictures at an exhibition, right? Wondering what a picture might sound like. So on the original recording, we had Steve on guitars and mellotron and percussion, and John Aycock on pianos and keyboards, and John Hackett on synths and flute, and Mike Rutherford and Phil Collins and Sally Oldfield. Mike Oldfield's sister was the original vocalist. But we are seeing a live version of this from relatively recent times. So let's take a look. Shadow of the Hierophant by Steve Hackett. Off we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Steve.
We're going to, because Amanda's with us tonight, Amanda Lehman. They're very lovely. We're going to do the whole of Shadow of the Hierophant.
I think we've looked at this on a council chat, but I'm not I don't want to say for sure. Sounds great.
Veiling the nightshade, bright stalks of flower revealed. Nearing
very high range for a rock vocal, even for a female.
As the moon eclipses the sun.
That's a heck of a progression. It ends on an F chord.
Casting the same
But it doesn't start there.
stars open to come. Melt in the dream void from which he never could run.
The lyrics don't make a whole lot of sense to me, y'all, as I'm looking at them.
Lost in thought in search of vision. As the moon eclipses the sun.
Right. That's E flat minor, up to F. Yes, ends on F. But it starts on E flat minor, and then it goes to a C flat chord.
Fountains breaking the promise to heal.
It has a very folk-like construction, y'all, with this ritornello, this returning section, kind of between these little couplets of verses.
Deep in thought but robbed of vision.
Deep in thought but robbed of vision,
As
as the moon eclipsed the sun. As the moon eclipsed the sun has been said 3 times now. E flat, C flat, D flat, back to E flat minor, up to F, and then B flat minor to C, 4/5. What in the hell? Done by a half step. Tap it out, Steve. It's a transition, right? That's freaking cool. I hope they play that when we see them next week. Now, that kind of sounded like the thing they were doing, but they're in E instead of E flat. This is where they started. Nice. There's your cue. There he goes. Thank you very much. Too bad they don't have a real celesta. Nice. Listen to the bass pedals, y'all. Big, fuzzy, fat sound. B down to G. G minor. To A. E. Hello, 4-1. Amazing music. D, do, B minor, I think. And they turn flat six to a minor chord. Go to A and then that goes to E. That's interesting. It's just wonderful music. That becomes minor. Dominant, but not. It sets up dominant, but then it goes to the 7 chord instead. It's like it's rotating. And we're just kind of watching it from afar. Seven, one, seven, six. Wish I had my keyboard out for this. Beautiful. That's the weird switch. Then down a half step. Beautiful. Just trying to figure out what the drummer was up to for a little bit there. Just keep circling. That'll turn minor. Little step. That would be 4. E, but down by half step. I'm gonna end on the F sharp. I think it does. It's where they started, actually. This is the first of several, like Genesis influenced tunes that we're going to hear in this countdown. We've got Peter Gabriel coming up. We've also got an actual Genesis tune, and we've got this Steve Hackett tune. The sun and moon are included as tarot cards as well. All right? Appreciative audience. Great stuff. I'm going to stop that there. So as the moon eclipsed the sun, lost in thought in search of vision as the moon eclipsed the sun, that returns, and then at the very end, deep in thought but robbed of vision as the moon eclipsed the sun. The sun and moon are tarot cards the same way that the Hierophant is a tarot card. And I think that the sun stands for joy or gladness, while the moon, I think, is, I don't know if it's evil. I don't think so, but it may be more like illusion or deception or some sort of hidden danger or something that's lurking, like be aware. So I'm not sure where they're going with the meaning of the words here. I really am at a loss. I'm not sure. But I loved the sound of that particular song, and I can't wait to see Steve Hackett live next week. It's going to be a great time. It's such a wonderful tune, isn't it? I mean, the music is enigmatic and glorious, and it matches the enigmatic and sort of obtuse lyrics as well. I have, since recording that, come into ownership of the original album that this is off of, Steve Hackett's Voyage of the Acolyte. I also have this wonderful live recording that this comes from, and it's quite beautiful. Shadow of the Hierophant there on side 3. It sounds great on the vinyl. And friends, just after this, I had the opportunity to see Steve live in concert, and it's one of my favorite concert experiences that I have ever had. It was wonderful music, impeccably played, and so it is my privilege to feature some music from Steve Hackett on the Daily Doug today. Thanks y'all for being with me, and we'll see you next time on another edition of the Daily Doug.